Large language models is the talk of the day. And when you talk about Snowflake and large language models, there are various ways of interacting between two. The first one and most easiest one is calling a large language model right from Snowflake within your SQL statement. The second one that we announced at Summit, which is going to be in our roadmap, is deploying large language model inside Snowflake using Snowpark containerized services. And there's a third way to really interact with large language models, which is using our capability Streamlit to build a native app inside Snowflake and then interact with a large language model. My friends at Mantle Group have developed a simple but very effective native web application inside Snowflake using Streamlit. What it does is you can just ask questions, simple question about Formula One. So you can ask questions such as, who won the 2019 Monza circuit? And what it will do is it will ask that question to ChatGPT, but it will only pass the metadata that is available inside Snowflake, and it will get the query from ChatGPT which will give you the answer. It then takes a SQL query and then runs against the data inside Snowflake to give you a result. How cool is that? In this way, you're not really giving away the data into a public forum, you're protecting from any threats of misuse of your data, and you're just interacting with ChatGPT using metadata. Let's hear from the Mantle Group and the people who developed this on how they developed it and what was the inspiration behind it.
Hi everyone, I'm Harish. I'm a lead data consultant at Mantle Group. With me today,
Hi, I'm Todd. I'm also a lead data consultant here at Mantle Group.
we're here today to talk about the demo that we showcased at the Snowflake Data Cloud World Tour in Sydney. In our demo, we showcased how easy it is to use Snowflake with the Streamlit UI, LangChain, and OpenAI's ChatGPT models to build an end-to-end demo that combines all these great capabilities into a simple use case.
Yeah. So we took a data set of Formula One races going back to the 1950s. This has everything from drivers to races to pit stops to everything in a Formula One race. It's a really nice data set, it's well normalized, and we imported this into Snowflake. So we use Snowflake as our main database engine to query this data set.
And we think that this represents a typical scenario we see with most organizations that come to us. Organizations have huge data sets that have been ingested through well-established ingestion, transformation, and orchestration patterns. But the challenge lies in really making some useful insights from the data that's already been loaded into their environments.
So as an experiment, we took this data set and we built a chat interface using Streamlit. Streamlit's a Python library which lets you build web applications really quickly with a minimal amount of code. With this, we integrated the LangChain library, which is a library which makes communications with large language models really simple. So it's a standard interface which can query multiple languages. And at the other end of the API, we use OpenAI's ChatGPT-4. We found this model to be really good to query, and the results it returned back were surprisingly accurate.
In our demo, we wanted to tackle some of the concerns around data security and privacy when working with large language models. So we made sure that we didn't expose the underlying data sets to the ChatGPT models themselves. Instead, we used a prompt that helped us define the problem that the data analyst or business user would typically ask someone on their team. We provided metadata that described the underlying tables, the columns. We provided some hints that explain how some of the categorical variables in the table were modeled, but we did not specify things like joins. We did not create any views. Instead, we passed this information to the large language model and asked it to decide the best way to join data sets and tackle this problem and provide a rationale so that a human could validate and ensure the result was what we expected.
Yeah, and we found that this worked really well. In the majority of times which we put in a prompt, such as who won Monza in 2019, the ChatGPT model would take the DDL of the tables and generate a SQL query for us. In the majority of times, the SQL query ran against Snowflake and returned the correct result. So it kind of shows that large language models with the minimum amount of data and the correct sort of prompt is actually an interesting way to start exploring data sets quite quickly.
And we think that this is going to change the way most data engineers and data analysts approach querying their data sets. Today, most teams still need to go in, write SQL, model their tables, and then produce a CSV extract or a dashboard. But we think that only works quite well with repetitive questions. Whereas in today's competitive markets, organizations are trying to discover new ways to slice and dice their data, find something new and interesting. And we think that having an approach like this makes querying your data set as simple as just having a conversation with it.
One of the interesting things we found while building this demo was that the majority of our time was actually engineering the prompt to generate responses which we could use for the whole process. The actual Streamlit UI took us probably half an hour to build out, but we probably spent 5 or 6 times that amount of time building the prompt. In the end of it, it's a very long prompt, but it's a lot of fun trying to explore how do you have a large language model? How do you get the large language model to respond in the way you expect? How do you get the large language model to generate a very structured output of a SQL query? So all these problems are quite interesting to explore, and we had a lot of fun building the demo.
Yeah, and we think this lines up with some of the new features that you're expected to see in Snowflake in the coming years, such as native apps, LLM integration inside Snowflake, and Streamlit coming together as a single product. And we hope that you have as much fun building applications on Snowflake with large language models as we did putting together this Formula One demo.
Thanks for checking us out.
What is a LLM?
Sorry, I didn't get it. Can you speak slowly?
What is a LLM?
LLM stands for the Master of Laws.
Not that. Large language model.
I am not an expert. Please speak to someone at Snowflake or Mantle Group.
Okay, I get it.